Been a while since I've done a review this long. Black Panther WAKANDA FOREVER! So Black Panther WAKANDA FOREVER is a new entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and is the sequel to Black Panther from 2018. That film starred Chadwick Boseman as the Black Panther, and this time around we got a new Black Panther. But who? I will talk a little bit more about Chadwick Boseman before this review is over, because how can I not? As for WAKANDA FOREVER, this movie stars Leticia Wright, Angela Bassett, Danai Gurira, and Tenoch Huerta. After the death of King T'Challa, Wakanda is left mourning and on the brink of despair. And as outside forces move in, a new threat emerges in the form of Namor. But in times such as these, for Wakanda, the Black Panther is never truly gone. WAKANDA FOREVER was easily one of my most anticipated movies of this year for multiple reasons. The first being, I really like the first Black Panther, as it's one of my favorite movies to come out of Marvel Phase 3. So I really wanted to see how WAKANDA FOREVER could possibly stack against its predecessor. I was also just really curious as to how Marvel was going to approach this, especially with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. I had a lot of questions going into it, like who was going to be the new Black Panther? And after hearing that Namor the Submariner was going to be involved, I really wanted to see how he was going to factor into this. So yeah, to say that I was hyped but also really cautious at the same time is pretty much an understatement. But I'll tell you guys now, and I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but I love this movie, man. This movie blew everything out of the water that Marvel has done this year. For me, at least. I only really have a few slight issues, but nothing that took away from my enjoyment and raw, unbridled excitement while watching this. The roller coaster of emotions I felt while watching WAKANDA FOREVER is insane. I cried, I laughed until my stomach hurt, and I cheered when this movie turned into the Black Panther film that I really wanted to see. WAKANDA FOREVER is very much a superhero fun fest as much as it's a movie about mourning and despair and learning how to move on. You really feel that driven home by the tone, the atmosphere, and the performances from the actors and actresses. Ryan Coogler's vision and love for this world and these characters is felt with every camera movement and word being uttered. He set out to make a very worthy and definitive sequel, but also just pay tribute to a really great man. And he succeeded. And to say that all the actors and actresses bring their A game to this movie is pretty much an understatement. If Angela Bassett does not get some kind of award for her performance in this movie, it's gonna be a damn shame, because she is just harrowing to watch, man. Holy hell. You could just feel her heartbreak and the loss with every little word she utters, and she is selling the shit out of it. She had me tearing up a lot. Like, she did a phenomenal job, dude. The biggest standout in this entire movie is definitely Tenoch Huerta as Namor. From what I can gather, they changed a lot when it comes to his character, due to legal issues, but it's done in a way that's honestly pretty cool. There's a certain level of mysteriousness surrounding Namor, but a lot of malice and contempt as well. He's intimidating and imposing and is easily probably one of the biggest hitters in the MCU. And they give you a pretty good solid reason as to why he's doing what he's doing in this movie, and you understand it. But at the same time, the amount of damage he does to a lot of the characters in this movie, as well as Wakanda, does not really feel that justified. Namor is a bad guy that you love to hate, and I love him. Now, this was a big surprise for me. Leticia Wright is the glue that holds this movie together. Kind of like Angela Bassett, you feel for her so badly. The pain and sorrow she exhibits throughout this movie is just heart-wrenching. She's lost her brother, her faith, and ultimately, she's just kind of lost a part of herself. Ultimately, that pain becomes the catalyst that gives her the strength to pick herself up. And this is where I have to kind of give Ryan Coogler a little more credit, because he managed to take a character from the previous movie that was just ultimately kind of there for comedic relief, let's be real, and elevate her to a spot on the totem pole that I really didn't think she'd be able to fit on. Leticia Wright deserves all the credit in the world for her performance. Like, she did absolutely great. Now let's address the elephant in the room, that's Chadwick Boseman, and believe me, I know this has been a huge talking point for a lot of people. I feel like this movie does a really good job of paying respect to him without really using his death as a crutch. It would have been really easy for them to do that, but they don't. They just kind of address it and move on. For everyone scared that Marvel was basically going to use his death to promote this film, you could rest easy. People may not see it that way, but to me, they paid respect to Chadwick Boseman in the best way that they knew how. The story and plot for this movie is ultimately kind of a mixed bag for me. Like, there's a lot of good stuff and good moments that work really well in here, but there's also a lot of stuff that kind of feels like it doesn't need to be here, which kind of leads me into my negatives. This movie has a lot of pacing issues with its narrative and its story. Like, Jesus, talk about feeling like I'm being jerked around. At some moments, this movie feels like it's moving at 100 miles an hour and then just becomes very slow, only for it to go back to being super fast paced all over again. I felt like I was on a plane just going through really bad turbulence. And Wakanda Forever ultimately has the same problem that I had with the first one, and it's that the special effects look very janky at some points. To this movie's credit, it's not as bad as it was in the first movie, but it's still very noticeable, especially during a lot of the action sequences and a lot of the underwater scenes. I will say, I do love a lot of the action in this movie, especially since Namor feels like he hits like a damn freight train. I also think Wakanda Forever just kind of carries a lot of unnecessary baggage. Like, characters that really did not need to be a part of this film, but are ultimately just here to kind of pad out the runtime. Like Riri Williams, like, I get that the Ironheart show is coming soon, but why focus on her when we could be focusing more on this guy? Plus, Wakanda Forever just kind of forgets about Riri by the end anyway. And Martin Freeman might as well be a cameo in this movie because he does absolutely nothing. Like, why is he here? Oh, so he can get arrested and so we can have more setup for the Thunderbolts movie that we're supposed to get in a few years. He didn't need to be in this movie. Take both of those characters out of this movie, and this movie's runtime could have been brought down to about maybe just 2 hours. This movie also has a few plot holes that can take you out. I guess it all really just depends on how badly they bug you. They didn't bother me as much as they normally would, but when a character has to go underwater at some point in this movie, and they magically get their hands on this big mechanical diving suit, I'm just kind of like, okay, where the hell did you get that? Did they have that just stowed away somewhere? Like, where did it come from? Was it just tucked away in her back pocket, shrunk down with Pym particles? Like, I need to know. Like, it's silly, but it's not silly enough to make me roll my eyes in anger. The more I think about the few flaws I found in this movie, I can kind of excuse them just because I had so much fun with this. This was one of those times where I feel like fun just kind of trumps criticism, and I stand by that. Wakanda Forever is certainly not the best thing that the MCU has produced, but it's fun entertainment that manages to keep you glued to the screen the whole time. Fun action, great performances, and dude, it was just very fun to revisit Wakanda. I do have my fair share of criticisms, but once again, they really didn't take away from my enjoyment of this movie. I do miss Chadwick, and his absence is very much felt throughout Wakanda Forever. It's sad thinking what might have been, but I'm at least glad I got a chance to celebrate him and his legacy as this character. For me, this is the best Marvel movie of 2022. Without a doubt. And it is for that reason alone, it is fully worthy of being in my collection of greatness. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And thank you guys so much for joining me for my review on Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This was a long time coming. I'm sorry if I ranted on a little bit about the performances in this movie, but dude, everybody in this movie was great. Like, absolutely great. That being said, this movie is getting absolutely demolished on the internet right now, so I might be the odd man out on this one. Pretty sure. But anyway, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, I'm the Unbiased Movie Nerd, saying peace. I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace out, everybody.